The first property that we learned for simplifying monomials is the product of powers property, and you usually see it written as a to the power m times a to the power n, like over here. And basically it says if you've got a variable to any power and you multiply it by that same variable to some other power or the same power, we can simplify that. We can write one base, that one variable, and then give it a labeled power that's equivalent to what it is separate. So for example, we have x cubed times x to the fourth. Well, my common base is x. I've got x here and x here. So I can write 1x, and then I can add the powers, 3, oops, I'll write that better, 3 plus 4, and that will be equivalent to having written it separately. It's just a quicker way to write it. So x to the 7th is the same thing as x cubed times x to the 4th. And if you want to think about it as splitting all those copies, because to me a power just represents the number of copies I have multiplied. So I've got an x, x, x for the first guy, and that's multiplied by another set of x's, and this time there are 4 copies. 3, 4, because I have power 4, exponent 4. Well, how many x's do I have altogether? Well, I've got 3 blue ones and 4 purple ones, and that makes 7 total x's, so 7 of the same variable. So why not just say, hey, I've got x, and the exponent tells me how many copies I have, and I've got 7 of them, and they're all multiplied to each other. If they're next to each other, that just means multiply. So x to the 7th. And that makes things a lot easier for writing, because I don't have to write as much. I can just say it in one single x to the 7th instead of x cubed times x to the 4th. So let's try another problem. Let's say we have 4x times 3x squared y. So now I have 2 variables in there, and I have some coefficients. I've got a 4 and a 3 there. Well, numbers, coefficients follow the normal rules of multiplication, so 4 times 3 gives me 12. And then for the variables, I can follow this new rule that we've learned. So whenever I multiply a common base, well, so I have an x here, and I'm looking for any other x bases anywhere, and I see I do have an x squared, and so I can combine those. I can write this as x, and because there's not a power written above the x, I know there's invisible 1 right there, so I can write its new power as x to the 1 plus 2, which is 3. And then I notice I have a y as well, but there aren't any other y's over here for me to multiply and combine with, and so I just keep the y as being multiplied, and I can't simplify him anymore. So clean that up, 12x, and 1 plus 2 is 3. Got 3 copies of x getting multiplied, and a y. So that would be 4x times 3x squared y simplified, 12x cubed y. And we know it's simplified because we don't have negative exponents and we don't have parentheses, and we only have 1 coefficient. So we've shrunk it, simplified it, made it as compact as possible, the least amount of things for us to write.